All right. So today I am going to pick up a more concrete example, a more involved example, a more complex example on application of Weierstrass theorem and application of the stationary points for minimization. So the concrete problem that I have in mind is minimization of a quadratic function x transpose qx minus b transpose x, sorry, plus b transpose x plus c. This is a quadratic function and I want to minimize it, and I am putting a condition that the matrix Q is positive definite and of course symmetric. All right. So X is in Rn. So Q has to be a n cross n matrix. B is a vector also in Rn, fixed, and C is another vector in Rn. This is also fixed, and Q of matrix is also of course fixed. So uh, in this importance of this matrix Q to be positive semi-definite, you will see as we uh, proceed. But just to give you a simple example, suppose I took Q as minus I. This is a symmetric negative definite matrix. Then X transpose QX will become minus of X transpose X. And where is the infimum of this minus of X transpose X? It is at minus infinity. So therefore, it is clear that with negative definite matrices, we will have a problem, that is, which is that we may have an unbounded minimum. In other words, the minimum may not exist. It or infimum is at minus infinity, or it's called also unbounded minimum. Uh, if uh, if again matrix Q is indefinite, suppose that matrix Q is indefinite, then also it means that there is some x bar such that x transpose qx, x bar transpose qx is less than 0. So for the sake of discussion, you can say that there is some this for which it is, let's say, minus 1. Then you keep on increasing the length of this vector by alpha. So take alpha tending to infinity and look at vectors of the form alpha bar x bar, and then where does this go? Alpha bar x bar transpose q alpha bar x bar, it goes to minus of alpha square, and in the limit alpha tending to infinity, this goes to minus infinity. So again the infimum becomes minus infinity. So the problem does not have a solution. So therefore, when we want to minimize this particular when we want to solve this particular problem x coming from Rn, we have to actually important to force this requirement that Q is a positive definite matrix. This is important. And this is very, very important, and usually this is also symmetric. So this is what we are going to now. Now this is why in this problem we have stated that Q is a symmetric positive definite matrix. So let's come back here. We want to minimize half of X transpose QX plus B transpose X plus C. Now I know that Q should be positive definite matrix, but even then, can I say that this problem has a minimum? Is it is it straightforward? Is it straightforward? Is it that straightforward to say that this problem has a minimum? Not really, right? I mean, we are going to, yes, answer is of course yes, because I am going to show that the above objective function is actually a coercive function. If I show you this, that this quadratic function with q positive definite is a coercive function, then automatically it automatically it will follow that, therefore it will follow that fx will have a global minimum. And it will be very straightforward to show that this problem has a global minimum. And then what would be next step? The next step would be evaluate the stationary point and see what you get and see what happens. We'll come to that. First let's show that this problem, this function is a coercive function. So for that, first I am going to look at the following auxiliary problem, which is uh, actually what I am trying to which is minimize half of minimize let me say minimize x transpose q x subject to the restriction that length of x is 1. So length of x is 1 implies that x1 square plus x2 square and so on up to xn square is 1. So then it is very clear that each of these xi's have to be between -1 and +1. This is each of these objectives have to be between, I'm sorry, each of these xi's have to be between -1 and +1. So therefore this set of feasible solutions is bounded. Then the next thing is we want to show that this is also a closed set. So then we consider to show that it is a closed set, we consider a sequence xk such that x of k is equal to 1 and this sequence, let's say, converges to x bar. Now if x bar is equal to 1, then we can say that set is closed, is it not? Why is set is closed? Because then x bar belongs to set S, so therefore set S is equal to the closure of it, and that means it is a closed set. This is something that we have discussed in the this is something we have discussed earlier. Now if this sequence xk goes to x bar such that length of each of this xk is 1, then in the way, if you look at where this limits to, every length is 1. So where is the limit of this? The limit of this is 1. Now the question is, will this limit be achieved by the function under consideration that we have? And what is the function that is under our consideration? The function under our consideration is a norm function, And a norm function is a continuous function. This we have proved in our earlier lectures that norm function is a continuous function. Then, then what is the consequence of this? That if the function is continuous, then that actually exactly means that the limit is indeed the value of the function. If limit is not the value of the function, then it is discontinuous. So therefore it is very clear that this has to be equal to 1, because if this is defined as anything else other than 1, then discontinuity, then it means that this norm function is discontinuous, which is not possible, is it not? So therefore we come to the conclusion that the set S, which is set of all x such that length of x is equal to 1, is closed. So the set is closed and bounded, then it means it is compact. And x transpose qx is a quadratic function, is continuous, that is trivial. This function is continuous. So we are looking at minimizing a continuous function on a closed and bounded set or a compact set. Then by Weierstrass theorem, it Weierstrass theorem, it has a minimum. So let's call this minimum as gamma, and gamma will be greater than 0. Why? Because x transpose qx is always greater than 0 for all x not equal to 0. Reason being q is symmetric, positive, definite matrix, right? So therefore now I have come to this conclusion that I can write this subject to length of x is equal to 1 to be equal to some gamma which is greater than 0. Now look at a generic x transpose qx. Okay. Now if you look at a generic x transpose qx, you can write this as square of the length of x here, x divided by length of x transpose q, x divided by length of x. I can rewrite this like this. But because this now these x by length of x becomes a unit length vector, what it means is this u transpose, if I call this as a unit vector u, then this u transpose qu will always be greater than or equal to gamma. Why? Because gamma is a global minimum. We have applied Weierstrass theorem. So therefore x transpose qx will always become greater than or equal to gamma times the square of the length of x. This means, what does this means? This means that in the limit the length of this vector goes to infinity, if I take any sequence xk such that the length of the vector k goes to infinity whichever way it goes, then this auxiliary function x transpose qx will also go to infinity, because its length is always, its value is always greater than gamma times the square of the length of x. What does that mean? That means x transpose qx is a coercive function. So I have this objective function x transpose qx plus b transpose x plus c, and I have already shown that x transpose qx is greater than or equal to some gamma times the square of the length of x, gamma greater than 0. Now let's look at B transpose X. Now what is B transpose X? Length of B times length of X times cos of theta. So what is the minimum value of B transpose X when cos of theta becomes equal to -1? So the minimum value of it is minus length of B into minus length of X. In other words, I can write that B transpose X is greater than or equal to minus length of B times minus the length of X vector. So now let's put it all together. We change the color. So I have x half of X transpose QX is greater than or equal to gamma by 2 into square of length of X. Then B transpose X is greater than or equal to minus of length of B times the length of X. If I add these two inequalities together, and because they are both greater than or equal to inequalities, I will get that a half of X transpose QX plus B transpose X is greater than or equal to gamma by 2 square of the length of X minus length of B, which is a constant, times length of X. And now to this inequality, I can always add plus C on both sides without any problem. That will not disturb the inequality. And so I will get this is greater than or equal to the objective function on the left hand side. I have objective function which is greater than or equal to the gamma by 2 square of the length of X minus length of B times length of X plus of C. So I have got a lower bound on the objective function here. On this right hand side is the lower bound on the objective function. Now the first term in this it goes to infinity at quadratic rate. This goes to infinity at a quadratic rate. The second term, even though it is being subtracted, it goes to infinity at what rate? At a linear rate. So it's very clear that after the two have intersected, after that, beyond that threshold of some threshold m on the or some threshold, let's say t, some threshold t on the length of X, after that the quadratic term will dominate the linear term, and since the quadratic term goes to infinity, therefore the difference will also go to infinity. So what I am saying is that gamma by 2 of square of this minus length of B into length of X will go to infinity as length of X goes to infinity. And when something is going to infinity, to it if I add plus C, does that make any difference? A constant vector? It does not make any difference. It still goes to infinity. So in other words, what we are saying is limit x tending to, if a sequence xk tending to infinity, f of x of k also goes to infinity. Always, it doesn't matter which sequence you take, so long as that sequence x length goes to infinity, the function goes to infinity. Therefore, the function is a coercive function. Our function half of X transpose QX plus B transpose X plus C is coercive provided Q is symmetric, positive, definite. Since f of x is a Corsiv function, we can say that it will have a global minimum, and therefore the next step would be to calculate the gradient of f of x and set it to 0. The gradient of f of x, which is the gradient of half of x transpose qx plus b transpose x plus c. Now the gradient of a constant function is going to be 0. Now look at b transpose x. It is b1 x1 plus b2 x2 and so on up to bn xn. So if you look at gradient of this with respect to some xi, it is just bi. So therefore, if the partial derivative with xi is just bi, then the gradient of b transpose x is nothing but b vector. So now let's just put our attention to the gradient of half of x transpose qx, and we need to show that this is actually q of x. So half of x transpose qx is what? It is sigma y equal to 1 to n, or let me not directly put the sigma notation here, all possible two combinations. So q11 x1 square plus q22 x2 square and so on up to qnn xn square plus 2 times uh, plus 2 times I equal to 1 to n, I equal to 1 to n, sigma j equal to 1 to n, qij xi xj when I is not equal to j, all the off diagonal terms. You can verify this out if you are not very sure about it. So if you take a partial derivative of, let's say I will illustrate it for x1 and then I'll leave it to you to complete the remaining thing. If I take the partial derivative with x1, what does the first term give me? It gives me 2 times of q11 x1, and then the second to this second to nth term here, they will give zero derivatives because they are in uh, only in x22 x33 x3 square and xn square kind of term. They don't involve x1. And then after that, only in the remaining part also, only those terms are of significance where x1 interacts with some another term. So therefore I will write it as 2 times of q12 x1. I have to look at partial derivative of uh, 2 times of q12 x1 x2 plus q13 x1 x3 and so on up to q1n x1 xn. This is the partial derivative that I have to look at, and this is therefore 2 times of q11 x1 plus 2 times of q12 x2 plus 2 times of q13 x3 and so on up to 2 times of q1n xn, which is same as 2 times the first row, which I am writing it now as q1 transpose x. So the partial derivative of x transpose qx with respect to x1 is twice the first row of the q matrix transpose first row times the x vector. So therefore, if you look at x, if you put this in a gradient form, that is the partial derivative with first with respect to uh, x1, then with respect to x2, and so on and up to xn, then the first row will be uh, q1 transpose, second row will be q2 transpose, and the last row will be qn transpose. But you have just assembled the rows of x, the rows of q matrix, so therefore this becomes 2 times of qx. So then what is now the gradient vector of fx? It is the partial derivative of half of x transpose qx plus b transpose x plus c. So the first term will give you the 2 and the 2 will cancel out. So qx plus second term will be b, and the contribution of this is equal to 0, and therefore uh, qx plus uh, qx plus b will be the solution of this equation. Qx star equal to minus b, provided it exists, will give you a stationary point. Now there are two questions. Will it exist? Well, even without using any properties of any further new theories, it will exist. Weierstrass theorem has already told you that this has a minimum, therefore it has to have a unconstrained optimization problem has a minimum at the stationary point. So the stationary point has to exist. That is independent of whatever that q that b is. If it is true that it is independent of any b, that it will have a x star will exist, then effectively it is amounting to saying that q is a non-singular matrix. So in fact, this tells you that the positive definite matrix is always a invertible matrix. Now, positive definite is an invertible matrix. I can of course bring it out in another way also, which is that suppose that it is not invertible. Suppose that it is not invertible. Then what does it mean? It means it's singular. It's a singular matrix. That means there is some vector z such that qz will be 0 and z is not equal to 0, which means that z transpose qz is equal to 0, z not equal to 0. But can this happen? No, because for a positive definite matrix, Q transpose Z transpose QZ will be always greater than 0 for Z not equal to 0. That's the definition of a positive definite matrix. So no such singular vector can exist, and no such vector which will take QZ to 0 can exist, and therefore this matrix will be a invertible matrix. If you are not very clear on it, don't worry. I'll be reviewing linear algebra a bit further later on. But right now, I think I have just put, even Weierstrass tells you that the Q matrix has to be an invertible matrix because this is true for all B vectors. So therefore, x star will become equal to, what will x star become equal to? Minus of Q inverse of B, which is actually means that it is a unique solution, not multiple solutions. The moment it is minus of Q inverse of B, it becomes a unique solution, and hence minimum of f of x is going to be, just substitute it, half of minus of Q inverse B transpose Q minus of Q inverse of B times plus B transpose of x, which is minus of Q inverse of B plus of C, and this is going to be equal to minus will cancel out, so half B transpose Q inverse Q inverse. So therefore Q inverse times of B minus of B transpose Q inverse of B plus of C, which is minus half B transpose Q inverse B plus of C. Here I have in the first expansion here, I have also used the fact, I have also used the property that Q is symmetric. Q inverse exists, so Q inverse is also symmetric, and therefore Q inverse transpose is same as Q inverse. These are the smaller points which I have used. So at the end of the day, I am saying now that minimize X transpose QX, minimize X transpose QX plus B transpose X plus C has a solution at X star equal to minus of Q inverse of B. I'm sorry, minus of Q inverse of B, and the minimum is C minus half of B transpose Q inverse B. This and minimum is C minus half of B transpose Q inverse B. Okay, let's stop here. Thank you.